All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is up, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We're back, typical Saturday schedule. I let you guys know I wanted to get these up earlier and kind of utilize this as your guys' first glance at the slate. So we're up here, 9 a.m. West Coast. Not a ton of injury news as we start the day, so I don't think there's too much changing. It is NBA. I assume something changes before lock as we have a good 6-7 hours until this slate locks. Actually, it's a 5 o'clock if I'm not mistaken, so even more than that. So going to give this to you guys, just kind of breakthrough games. It's a pretty ugly slate, but I think this would be a good thing to kind of give a listen to, kind of get the brain moving a little bit, kind of getting ready for this slate. Lock up your contest early and kind of think about how you're going to approach it before we deep dive and break it down more in the slate plan and in the Discord. First and foremost, again, we talked about it on yesterday's show. Shout out to Tidal and Rio, who was right behind him. But Tidal had a huge day in the $5. That was awesome to see a couple nights ago. But because of that, we're running a special here. NBA 50% off your first month. Outstanding deal. There's multiple places in the industry that you could go to and multiple people, that are pushing these discounts. But I think this is such a value. And every night, you get better, from the website, whether it's our tools, whether it's in the Discord, chatting about every single sport. But additionally, it's just a fun place to kind of hang out, at night, you're trying to get away from what the ladies are watching. Maybe there's a movie on you don't like, just jump in the Discord, start chatting it up. It's a lot of fun. So great value that we have here at SHIPIT Nation. Use NBA 50 for 50% off your first month. Let's do that. All right, let's dive in, guys. So we're going to be breaking down the 4 games. I think there's a game at 2 o'clock West Coast. We're going to leave that off. Actually, I looked at that game. If I want to look, I think it's Milwaukee and Charlotte. Let's verify. It's at noon, so a couple of hours. So if you're watching this and want a little sweat, I think that spread looks a little weird for Charlotte, so I might be taking their money line. Just a little sprinkle, just something to get us through the day. But we're talking the 4 games after that. West Coast time, we have 5 o'clock, 5:30, and 7. So interesting kind of breakdown here. I like slates like this. I like what DraftKings is doing, kind of leaving out later games, but on the shorter slates gives you the opportunity to kind of see how your lineups pan out. If you're in a smaller field, you can certainly look at swaps. You can look at swaps in bigger field, just a little bit more difficult diving through all of the entries unless you're real close to the top. But I like these because you get to take the approach of kind of getting, in depth in your lineups and making some swaps that could help you win first place. But we'll break down all 4 games. I'll break down totals and spreads. Like I said, just a few injury notes in the late game. But aside from that, nothing really surprising. So we have Toronto at Boston. That's a 17-point spread. What do we have here? 16.5. I think it's moved recently to 17. So definite blowout risk in a 229.5 total. In that game, we're really only looking at Holiday questionable. I don't think he comes back in this spot, but we're going to label him questionable and keep eyes on it throughout the day. Lakers at Pelicans, that's a 7-point spread at 219. Rui missed last night, and he's questionable again tonight. The Spurs at Dallas at 10.5 and 229. Washington's doubtful, so no real news right there. Luka's questionable on the DraftKings app, but it looks like he's probable. And then the Jazz at the Kings. Kings coming off Fox scoring 60 real life. That's pretty cool. But again, that's also a 10.5 point spread for 229.5 total. And that game, Sabonis and DeRozan and Markkanen are questionable. So DeRozan missed last night. We'll get to that game whenever we get to that game. But But let's dive right in here in kind of an interesting game here to start. So a 17-point spread, I mean, you can see many paths to where this game is out of control at the start of the third quarter, maybe near the end of it. But definitely interesting, especially, one, that it's a 4-game slate on DraftKings. And additionally, all the games have potential blowout risk, in my opinion. So we'll start with some quick notes on the Raptors. I don't love any of these guys. I'm more interested in some of these Celtics that I believe are mispriced. But to start, RJ Barrett at 8,400. His price is staying up with the injuries that they've had, obviously, to Barnes and Quickly. His 30% usage rate, I mean, on bigger slates, nobody wants to roster him at this price tag, and I completely understand. I mean, every time, I get a sneaky share in there, he's, sub 4%, sub 3%. I think this week I got him at 1.5 and 3. Hasn't really produced, can't really show much upside, in my opinion, at an $8,400 price tag. Additionally, this game, could get out of hand. I'm going to use him more in, quote, game stacks, if you will, where I have multiple Celtics. And I think the game stays competitive and he plays his full a lot of minutes. Additionally, the same is going to go for Grady Dick. Now, Grady Dick is going to be labeled as a secondary game stack for me. But I think as the day goes on, I think his price tag might be easier to pay off in some of these game stacks. Last night, he did not play well. 4 for 17 from the field and 1 for 10 from three-point land. They trusted him to take the last shot, as well as the game before that, he took 20. So, if you're hucking up 10, 11 threes in a game, especially on DraftKings where you get that half-point bonus, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot whenever you're talking about, a 4-game slate and, if he hits 5 or 6 of them. Those are big swings that we have. So obviously always labeled as a GPP play at that price tag. But he's seen upside. Last night I talked about on the show, I think it was before last night's game, it was 2 games in the 40s. I think it was 47 and 45 or something like that in the last 7 games. So certainly showing the upside. And if you're making kind of a sneaky game stack here, you could get him pretty low owned. So I don't mind that at all. Really, that's it for me as far as the Raptors goes. Davion Mitchell, he's not scoring enough at his tag. Obviously, he's playing, but, he's not taking enough shots and scoring enough points. Abaji's been playing well. Didn't play, the best last night, but a $5,800 tag, it's tough. It's tough, especially when we think potential blowout. Pirtle, had a great game last night, 7,600. He's always kind of a safer play. I could definitely see getting him on this slate to get a little bit of a different build, but I don't absolutely love it. I think I'm going to label them Dick, Barrett, and then I'll get to Pirtle as far as game stack pieces go. But the fun side, the Celtics side. So the 2 avenues that I want to take. The first is Jaylen Brown is 7,900. I want to play him. Yes, potential blowout, but they have to score 122 points somehow. If they get close to that Vegas total, and he's getting that late game blowout run, if you will. Like, every time I roster Tatum, I'm watching these games, hoping he gets that extra run. It's always Jaylen Brown. So I'm not necessarily super concerned of a spread in this because, like I said, it's a 122 total. Additionally, he could get a few extra minutes in some of these starters in some late run. Before I get, let's start with Horford. We like attacking these Raptors bigs. Now, it hasn't really come to fruition over the last couple of nights, but Horford's had a couple of days off. They don't play tomorrow, 4,800. I think this is a great spot to attack, especially if his ownership stays low. Like I keep alluding to, 122 is a lot of points, 4,800, hits a couple shots, is able to attack a weaker Raptors D. I think is a very interesting play and probably my second favorite play after Jaylen Brown. A very close, runner-up to second place, though, is going to be Peyton Pritchard at 4,900. He's taken, in his last 7 games, he's taken 9, 8, 8, 7, 11, 8, and 12 threes. his price tag is just a little too cheap. He flashed some upside a couple slates ago with the 50 burger. And like I said, if this game does blow out, I'm not necessarily concerned. He's not getting that super late blowout run, but I really do like to play him. I think the field is going to agree today because we don't have a crazy amount of value, at least not yet. So certainly interested in Pritchard. If we're making multiple lineups tonight and trying to attack a big GPP, I don't mind Quaid at 47. The reasons why I like Horford, I could totally be wrong, and they could use this as kind of like an extended stretch where he gets a couple nights off, doesn't really play a ton tonight, gets tomorrow off, and kind of catch up his body. If that's the case, 4,700 for a guy that could push 20, 25, not 25. Let's call it 22 minutes in a good matchup. I mean, like we have listed here, 1.27 fantasy points per minute. Do the math on that. He is exceeding value. Aside from that, obviously you can play Jason Tatum. There's also an avenue to think about. Hey, Horford might not be down there, the prototypical big, if you will, kind of, maybe stretch 4-ish, if you will. But if that's the case, Jason Tatum could grab a few extra rebounds, could attack the rim with a little bit more productivity, as well as get to the line. He could definitely exceed his tag. But like I said, I think I spent a little bit too much time on what I think could be the ugliest game on the slate. Moving down to, the closest game on the slate, and I don't think it should be. I've already clicked Lakers -6.5 a few times. Bunch of Laker money lines parlayed to some NFL bets to kind of get the ball rolling, excited for Sunday. But we'll start here. Like I said, Rui's questionable. He missed last night. Our boy Connect 4 slid into the starting lineup last night. We have Cam Reddish in there tonight. I think Connect, if Rui was to miss, I think Dalton Connect stays in the starting lineup. So we'll switch that. But we'll start with him first. He didn't produce, as what we thought he would. Looking back on it, that was a mistake that I was going to make. I played him in our core. I was able to get off of him. And like we talked about on the Discord, we got to OG with the cat news. But I think he's going to depend a little bit too much on scoring. Last night, he took 11 shots, which is obviously a great number for somebody out of 42. Yesterday, he was a 38 or 39 price tag. Obviously, great numbers for 4,200, but he only, was able to add 3 rebounds. And that obviously makes sense with who they have on the court. And when we take a deeper dive, I don't think unless he scores, he can add enough peripheral stats to really show extreme upside. So he's going to be off my list today if Rui misses. Obviously, LeBron and AD, we talked about it on yesterday's show. They've been playing awesome. One, you have LeBron at his age, just, going 60 burger, triple double. And then Anthony Davis getting the offense run through him. You can't go wrong with either one of these guys. I think I will take the slight discount and go back to LeBron. But, he is old. They are coming off a back-to-back, or the second end of a back-to-back. So I don't mind going Anthony Davis. If his ownership gets really high, I don't mind getting different with LeBron. But I edge out LeBron here now. Austin Reeves at 7,300. He's getting up there. You know what I mean? He's a hooper and he's productive. But damn, 7,300 is a tough price tag to kind of swallow. I get it's a 4-game slate, so it's a little different. But no thank you as far as today goes. D'Angelo Russell off the bench. I think he's been much more productive off the bench. Rio alluded to that in the Discord. It's definitely helped him. We've seen this a lot with guys that have been in the NBA a few years that were scorers. Now they get to go to the bench, and now they get to chuck. I would have thought he'd been a little bit more productive with Rui off the bench, or with Rui out, taking Dalton out of that second run, give him a few more shots. Last night he took 11 shots. He got his 30 minutes. And produced very well. I think what people are going to kind of skip over as they kind of look at him, I think he'll be much higher owned than what we have him listed at now. As we get closer to lock during the day, that will certainly change. But he had 3 steals. He doesn't meet value if he doesn't get those 3 steals last night. That's a big 6 points that were collected through those. So I'm not the steal whisperer. Clearly, with Dyson Daniels going off every slate, I've been saying there's no way he can do it again. But he's leading the NBA in steals through 4 games. So Anyways, not the biggest D'Angelo Russell guy today. I would rather go LeBron or AD and continue to move on. Pelican side, they've been weathered with injuries. It's been tough to watch, but Trey Murphy has come back. And at 5,600, he's come back to 14, 12, and 15 shots. I think he's going to be my number one play here for the Pelicans. I think he might be one of the first guys I put in lineups in, the most competitive game on the slate at a very fair price tag, and can certainly smash this tag by playing well. So I'm going to lock him in, really like him. Boston and Ingram, both of their prices have come way up. It's funny that I pair those guys together, but Boston's playing awesome. He's one of the guys that you roster in DFS and you watch him and he has the ball and you're confident that he can score you fantasy points, but he's going to shoot. And at 6,800, I don't mind it. In game stacks, I don't think a ton of people are going to get to it clearly because they're kind of, looking at some sticker shock at 6,800. But in the lineups where I want to, get a couple of these Laker pieces and run them back with a couple Pelicans, he's going to be high on my list. I think he's higher on my list than Brandon Ingram at 9,100. He played really, really well last night. And he is collecting those peripheral stats. I want to, allude to that. I said that last night on the show, and then I took a deeper dive and realized that I was wrong on that. But 9,100 at, higher elevated ownership on a 4-game slate. No, thank you. Obviously you get the revenge narrative against the Lakers, but I don't think that matters at all. I'd rather just play Boston and be sneakier at 6,800. As far as other guys in this game, Jalen Noel, obviously, was popular a few slates ago. 4,700, I do not see the upside, so I will be staying away from him. But Missy, I'm going to use Missy as kind of, the secondary or third piece in game stacks at 5,200. He's been playing well. He's been getting his mid 20 minutes. He's flashed some upside. I think he's solid, even in kind of a tougher matchup, if you will, versus Anthony Davis. But that's where I kind of stand on this game. I think it's interesting because it's the closest spread and has the potential to be the best game. But I personally think that the Lakers can run them out of the gym, especially if BI or Boston don't play well. So I'll be getting some shares of Lakers -6.5. Halfway done with the slate, a nice 4-gamer. We'll get to spend some time with some family today. So that's always a plus. Getting ready for football Sunday tomorrow. Utilize this time where there's not a lot of injury news and a smaller slate to kind of get that, out of the way so that we can enjoy Sunday tomorrow. All right. Interesting game here, certainly. Spurs and the Mavericks. 10.5 point total at 229.5. Washington's doubtful. He's not really in play. Yeah, he's been out for forever. So we'll start here with the Spurs side. Wemby last year averaged 26 minutes a game on back-to-backs. Now, do I want to compare that this season to that season? Not really, but certainly interesting. 11-1, garnering some ownership. Everybody wants to play him because of the upside that he shows with his stocks and his three-point ability. But I think it's too much. I'm going to stay away. It's like a couple $100 more to Luka, and you get a pretty sizable discount going down to LeBron or AD. So I would rather go there. I think this game has potential to be a blowout. I think obviously coming off a back-to-back. So there's a lot of question marks regarding his minutes. He didn't play his full allotment of minutes last night. So that's an interesting thought. But 11-1, he has to score, I would say, mid-60s to pay off his tag on this size of slate. But after him, Chris Paul's also kind of in that same bucket. 6,300. His price is just up a few $100 more than I really want. In his last 3, he's gone for 11 points, 11 assists, 9 points, 11 assists, 12 points, and 11 assists. I believe that he can only exceed value if he gets that double-double. So to get that double-double, as we're seeing here, the assist, really not a problem. He's always kind of around that mark, but it's really the points and the shot taking that we're concerned with. So in game stacks, I can even argue in lineups with Wemby. They're a nice pairing. Obviously put them together. But if you're not getting to a ton of Mavericks and you're not playing Wemby, it's tough to get to Paul, especially if his ownership is going to be elevated. Now, I will say he's more, you feel better about his floor and kind of like your cash game kind of play. but it's really tough for me to think about 6-3 when an extra $500 gets you to Boston, or obviously different position, but 6,500, 200 more gets you to Keegan Murray, which we'll get to, or a discount down to Colin Sexton. So I'm going to stay away from that unless I'm kind of game stacking and pairing multiple pieces from this game together. I'll lead after that with Castle at 4,900. He played 33 minutes for 33 DraftKings points last night. I think they're going to keep unleashing the young guy and let him eat. I'm excited to watch what he turns into, and he's going to probably be my favorite play from the Spurs. Aside from that, though, we're kind of in a jumbled mess with Mr. Champagne, Barnes. Vassell's not on here. We'll add him. Keldon Johnson. I think all these guys are kind of eating at each other. They're all getting similar minutes. They're all at similar price tags. People are going to look at this and they're going to say, "Oh man, these guys are $500 too cheap." But I don't want to go there. I think it's too hard to pick. If you're making multiple lineups, I would take the approach that I'm kind of getting shares of each one, and hopefully I get the right one with the right pairing in a game stack. But no, thank you for me on any of those Spurs. Moving on to the Mavericks. Interesting thought process / discussion that we have to think about over the next couple of hours before lock. So Luka had 37 last night versus Utah, right? Okay, it's Utah. We know it's a good matchup. Great, no problem. Kind of got up to his value, if you will. But we've only seen him really exceed his tag once this season. It was versus Indiana, and he had 15 assists paired with his 34 points. We haven't seen that upside from Luka where he's able to get his points and his rebounds and his assists way up. So I think at an 11-3 tag, I'm going to continue to be in the boat where if he beats me, he beats me. And I'm going to kind of keep fading him. I like the same kind of talk that I had with Wemby. It's just, I'd rather just take the discount to LeBron or AD, especially if the ownership is going to be the way that we have it projected now. We're going to get an ownership discount on both of those Lakers. So I'm out today. No, thank you. Potential blowout. His tag hasn't really flashed extreme upside. Yes, he's shown scoring upside, but at an 11-3 tag, we need much more than scoring upside. We need him to kind of flirt with that triple-double to give us those extra points to meet value. Aside from that, Kyrie took the night off last night, 8,300. He's been balling. I think this might be a good spot to kind of get back to him coming off a night off. Luka is questionable, but they're saying he's going to play. He's probable now. But an interesting thought. Luka's catching some heat for his defense. I don't think he's motivated by that, but we could certainly see a game where Luka tries a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, which gives Kyrie a few extra shots. So I'm gonna edge Kyrie ahead of Luka for the Maverick plays. No Maxey, no Clay for me. Obviously fun watching Clay in Golden State. Got all up for that game and exceeded his price tag, but no thank you on either one of those guys. And then, the interesting talk is going to be Lively and Gafford. Lively slide into the starting lineup, and he has the discount. I think he's bounds ahead of Gafford for me for playing. I think if you're making multiple lineups, you're definitely going to want a few shares of Gafford. I think, he obviously has shown upside, especially at that low fives tag that I am interested in, but it's going to be Lively for me. Quentin Grimes played well at 4K with Kyrie out the last couple of games. I don't mind him if you want to make some lineups that, kind of play toward the Mavericks running the Spurs out of the gym, at home Spurs off the back-to-back, as well as the Mavericks. But Wemby kind of getting a few less minutes. Game could get out of hand. And at 4K, he's shown the upside that could definitely smash that. I think he gets a little garbage time. I don't mind that in multi-entering in folks. Najee Marshall at 5,200. Interesting. He's been playing well. His price is a little too much for me. So I'm kind of off that here. So through 3 games, don't really have a ton that we love. Kind of easy plays to get to. Kind of just the best plays on every team. But I think all 3 of these games that we've talked about so far have fun and profitable avenues to game stacks if they stay close and high scoring. So, but we're going to get to the last game here. Definitely the most interesting for me, especially this early in the day when we don't have news on Sabonis or DeRozan or Markkanen. So First, same exact spread and total as the Spurs and Jazz game. So 229.5, 10.5 point spread. We'll start with the Jazz side. I'm gonna consider marking an in right now. If that's the case, obviously a downgrade to John Collins. If he's out, I do want to load up John Collins. Obviously, his price is coming up, but he showed his upside with a 40 and a 50 bomb. But I think he's gonna play. The next question becomes Sexton or George. Keontae hasn't been playing, great, over the last couple of days, and his price is elevated higher than what we have compared to Sexton. So I'm gonna go Sexton at 5,800 over Keontae George. But the real play for me is going to be Jordan Clarkson off the bench. 15, 14, and 16 shots in his last 3 with back-to-back games of 30 minutes. He's going to be popular at 5,100, and who doesn't love rostering Jordan Clarkson coming in near the end of the first quarter and just immediately setting the game on fire? We've seen his upside in the years past where it doesn't matter if he's coming off the bench, he can still drop a 50 bomb. So I'm going to highlight Jordan Clarkson ahead of both of those guards, and I'm certainly interested in a game where the game could get out of hand and Clarkson comes in down 8, down 10, down 12 at the end of the first quarter and has the ability to shoot and bring their team back. So a couple other plays we want to talk about. Flippo's been playing well at 49. I don't mind him. I think he's more of a secondary kind of play for me / game stack piece if we're playing together. But nobody I like. Eubanks at the bottom at 4K. He's played well too, but if he's going to get his 14, 15 minutes, I think that's a huge difference between 18, 19, or 20 minutes. And I think he's going to be closer in the teens range. To finish up with the Kings, De'Aaron Fox going for 60 real life last night. It's just unbelievable what we're seeing in the NBA over the last week or so. 50 bomb, 50 bomb, 60 bomb. LeBron doing, old man triple doubles. It's been fun, and Fox hopped in on the action. He took 35 shots last night. Now, yes, that game did go into overtime. So when I'm talking about some of these numbers and what your guys are going to see when you're leading up to lock, the game did go into OT. Nobody really produced, like we're going to talk about Keegan Murray. I think he might have got a rebound in overtime, but other than that, no real production. But I want to highlight with Trey Lyles last night getting 41 minutes. Now, the 5 minutes in overtime, but 36 minutes in regulation. So he's 3,800. He's going to be popular today, I would assume, as we get closer to lock, especially if Sabonis is out. But I think Sabonis is closer to in and DeRozan's closer to out. I see avenues where they both play. So let's talk if they all play. If they all play, it's going to be the usual suspects. I think that's a downgrade to Murray. I think Fwader at 55 is too expensive. Fox, his price isn't up enough, but I think, he loses obviously a few shots when DeRozan is back. So really the only play that I love is going to be Trey Lyles. If DeRozan's out, load up the Fox again. People may load up Ellis, but Ellis didn't really get extreme run that what we think if Monk is out and DeRozan was out. But, if you told me that a week ago, I would have thought to myself, he would have gotten much more run and he wouldn't be able to destroy his price tag. That was not the case. His minutes didn't really change. It was kind of, similar to what we've seen here in the season. So he's going to be off my list, especially if people are rostering him. Dougie Buckets got some minutes, but no thank you at 4,200. So it's just going to be Fox for me, and then Keegan Murray if DeRozan is out. He played what? I have it written down here. No, I don't. But he played, high 30s in minutes. I think I want to say he played 41. But anyways, he's going to get those extra shots, and I really like him as a play if DeRozan is out. So Fox and Murray highlight for me if DeRozan is out. If Sabonis is out, it's definitely Trey Lyles and Keegan Murray. I don't want to touch DeRozan if he's playing at 7,700. no thank you. But I think there's a bunch of different avenues that you can go as well in this game. I don't mind getting to Fox and Murray and running back, Clarkson and Flippo, or Sabonis and Fox running back, Sexton and Clarkson. I don't mind combos like that in what could be a high-scoring game. Love the late night hammer, and with the price tags that we have, it gives you so much ability to swap out, your late swap plays after these 3 games either end or are very close to ending. So, anyways, that's all 4 games. Like I said, we're using this as kind of like a first glance. Very excited for tonight. So a little bit longer than I wanted to go. I apologize for the 30-minute video. But, we're going to hop in, finish up the slate plan, and then we have Showdown tonight, which would be a fun one. Obviously, the last game that we talked about. But we appreciate you guys watching. Everybody do a favor and click the like button below. Let us keep us on the air. And again, one more time, use NBA code 50 to get 50% off your first month, which is a fantastic deal. And I don't want you guys to miss out on it. But other than that, appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys listening. You guys enjoy your Saturday. Good luck, and let's ship it.